Welcome to Top 5 Nintendo Pokemon Edition. My name is Sam. My co-host here is Jake. Jake, how's it going?
Hello. It's going swell. I am joining you as a college graduate this Thursday. Very excited to join the ranks. But we have something even more exciting. Sam, tell these kind people who listen to us what we're doing this season.
So this season we're mixed up the format a little bit. For people who've listened to Season 1, you would know that we would enter an extremely heated debate between our two top fives. Go back and forth.
Very heated.
Very heated. And
Sam, I just hate fighting with you. So this is why we made this change.
We had to stop fighting. It was tearing our lives apart. So we're not going to duke it out for the real top five any longer. Instead, Jake will just have to know that my top five is right the whole time.
This season. When we talk about your specialty. And what is that specialty, Sam?
My specialty is Pokemon. My specialty is Pokemon. So this whole season is going to be Pokemon themed. And
Pika P, am I right?
Exactly. And as we implied, instead, we're going to just go through my top five list. And we'll just kind of have a discussion as we go through each one. I could start by... I've said this in like other Pokemon episodes we did in Season 1, where I kind of said like, my history with just playing the game as a kid, enjoying it. Might as well just say it again, just to qualify my genius brain. But it was one of the first few games that I got really into. I started with Gen 1, so that's just red and blue. And I wasn't able to read, and I just kind of memorized like the animations, and I knew like what the typings were just by like, the sprite, like, Squirtle looks like that, and I know it's water type. So that's how I got by, and I had like neighbors who were a little bit older that, could, like read for me. It was very cute. And I kind of just like had to like memorize like Kanto, and just like I would play it over and over again, just like kind of knowing where to go. And I would do funny things, like I guess I played like some of the gym leaders out of order because I didn't really know like the right way to go. And then I learned to read by at least Gen 3, I think. I was starting to know some words, and from there was history. I still play the games. I'm mostly competitive Pokemon player at this point. I play the end games sometimes. I've skipped a couple of them, but I've always followed up with them, and I like Pokemon. Jake, what about you?
I too like Pokemon, more so recently than... not really. There's a gap in the middle.
Explain the gap.
As a child, loved Pokemon. First one, Leaf Green, Game Boy Advance SP, played that numerous times. I probably said this on a previous podcast episode, but kind of sharing it with my brother. So, I eventually played it by myself, but as a kid, it was kind of just like, oh, I'm here now. It wasn't much of I didn't follow the narrative or whatever. I was just running around catching Pokemon, beating gyms.
Giving funny nicknames.
Yeah, I think we were kind of too young, kind of like you were saying, to even really understand what was happening. So it didn't even matter that I was like trading back and forth with my brother who's playing. We were just enjoying the game, having a good time. After that, I was gifted Mario Kart DS when I got a DS, and my brother was gifted Pokemon Diamond. A little cross jealousy, both fantastic games.
They are.
I love Mario Kart, so I was content with it. But part of me wanted to experience Pokemon Diamond that my brother is playing, so I ended up getting it for myself. In retrospect, probably should have got Pearl at least, change it up a little bit. But we both got Diamond, loved it. Spent a lot of the time with my brother in the underground area and battling each other and whatnot. Use the Game Shark, just 6 Darkrai's against 6 Darkrai's.
Always.
You know how it is. We're so stupid. But good time with that. And then I kind of fell off. I've said previously I love the animes. So I watched that, but this was about, I guess, when I stopped watching the animes, lost a little interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a 3DS, so I wasn't playing X and Y and Black and White in those games. No access to those ones, and I don't know, a lack of interest, I guess, at that point. But recently, I always mix these up. What's the one that comes after Diamond and Pearl?
It was Gen 5, so it was black and white.
No, what's the,
The
third
game?
one?
Platinum.
Platinum. So the four of us, our friend group, decided to play it, and I was the only one who played it. But
Right, I remember that.
that got me back into it
I'm
a
being
little
called
bit.
out right now.
That got me back into the Pokemon scene a little bit. Oh, you know what? I played Pokemon Showdown in high school during class with,
Right.
you know, it was like my school blocked like all the game websites, but Pokemon Showdown was accessible, so we kind of did that sometimes. But whatever. Got back into it like 2 years ago or whenever that happened, and then played Pokemon Arceus recently. That was a ton of fun. That got me very, very stoked on Gen 9, slated to come out this holiday season. I'll probably be pre-ordering it. I'm really excited for it. It looks like a lot of fun.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool because it's gonna be, it's gonna really look like a console game this time. Sword and Shield, of course, was a Switch
Right.
game. This is gonna be, hopefully like a lot of exploring you could do, not as many boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Okay, so I don't even think we really brought up the topic of today yet.
No.
We're this is probably going to be one of the more controversial episodes, just because everyone is really going to have their own opinion on this. I'm going to happily give mine. It's going to be top 5 generations. Not necessarily the games themselves, but what I'm going to be focusing on, the criteria, I should say, is the Pokemon themselves, right? Like each generation being like, what group of Pokemon did we see, and then within that, like, what battle mechanics came from this. So, for example, like Gen 6, we had fairy types. Those were added. Like, how did that make me enjoy the game that way? In Gen 2, we had the introduction of steel and dark types. That's obviously, a huge impact. Like steel types are the coolest Pokemon.
Yes, sir.
And all that stuff. So that's like what I think is really cool. Those kinds of things. So things I would maybe not be as concerned about would be like the end game for like each specific game, or like the main story. So like if you really hated like fighting Whitney in Gen 2 because Miltank like used roll out and attract, I'm not going to be like docking points for that,
Okay.
because like, just beat Whitney. Or like the region layout, like if you don't like backtracking in certain regions, like that's fine. I'm not gonna bring it up. And then like the story stuff, it's Pokemon. So like the story's there is, like to drive the game. Like if you don't like Team Rocket or you like Team Rocket, that's cool, but not gonna be like getting all hung up on that. Yeah, and then just other things like there's quality of life stuff that I think is just generally improved for each game, right? Small things like TMs, like you teach a Pokemon to move and now it's gone. So it's like, I can only teach Thunderbolt to like one Pokemon my whole playthrough. Obviously, Pokemon is good at like, taking notes of what people like and don't like, and fix those things as they go, as I'd say. So
Right.
yeah, and then designs, I'm an optimist. So like I don't really get sad when I don't see a perfect design. There's Pokemon that I love to use that I think have really silly designs. Like I'm thinking of like Manectric or like Mega Manectric. Mega Manectric is like just a lightning bolt. Like he's a big squiggly, and he's awesome. Like he's really fun to use. He's really cool. He's really strong. So like I will happily use him and his silly lightning bolt costume design. Now if I like the design, I'll bring that up and I'll pretend like that is really important. But I just like to play the game. So with that said, let's get into my top 5. So I'm with number 5. That's going to be Gen 7 for me. That's
Okay.
the Sun, Moon,
Sun, Moon.
Sun 2, Moon 2. You're in the Alola region for this. The starters are Rowlet, Litten, Poplio. Yeah, this was a game that I liked them all. I'll start that. So it's not like 5 makes this not a great game. This is a wonderful game. Now there were, I believe it was 88 new additions of Pokemon. To me, that kind of felt like a low amount, and the ones that we did get like didn't leave a huge impression on me. If you look at like the legendaries to just like standard Pokedex Pokemon, it was really like legendary heavy. which is cool. I know some people are like, they really like legendaries, like they love the new designs. It helps them decide like what games they get. Some people, think it's cheating and they never want to use them. I love using legendaries, but I feel like you maybe need a little bit of a bounce. And 88, that is kind of low. I'm not sure if it's the absolute lowest, but it's like, it's maybe, up there for the lowest new amounts.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake? Did you have a Pokemon from Gen 7 that you really cared for in any way?
I didn't play this one.
Fair.
I'm going to be a little bit lost here.
That's fair.
This is why it's your season.
Hell yeah.
But you're talking about the lack of new Pokemon in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder. I see a lot of people debating about Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
About how in the newer season, the newer generations, they remove Pokemon, so you're not getting the complete Pokedex and whatever. Probably not stating this correctly, but you know what I mean.
No,
how do
right.
you feel
totally
about
right.
this?
So that was actually my next note. So
Okay.
I'm glad you brought it up. You kind of read my mind, and I'm creeped out. One of my favorite parts, probably my favorite part about Gen 7, is it has the biggest Pokedex.
Oh, okay.
It does. It's like about 800. The game after Gen 8, of course, so Sword and Shield. Some people were a little bit annoyed about basically like having the Pokedex. Of course,
Right.
cutting it in half. DLC added some new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Gen 8, as it stands now, is about 400. So you just get way more if you were to actually catch them all in Gen 7, Sun and Moon. I'm on the side of like, I grew up with the slogan "Gotta catch them all." Like the idea, the original idea of Pokemon is you always
Right.
catch them all. Now I guess that's really hard to do, especially when you're doing like full 3D animation like on Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I would just give me quality looking game. Don't worry
Right.
about stuffing all of them in if you can't do that. But is that going to make me like the choices in Gen 7 more? Like, yeah, 800 is a lot.
Right. Yeah. So the opposite argument that I see is you're not going to utilize 500 of those Pokemon, so why have them aside from just catching them? Realistically, they're never going to be in your party. Probably never even a consideration to use in any situation. I guess there's so many like overlapping, move sets and abilities and whatnot. There's really no reason to have all those Pokemon. I kind of agree with that. Being a softcore fan of Pokemon, I don't need 900 Pokemon at my disposal. I'd rather they just narrow it down and make them, like you said, look as good as possible. And even half of that 400 is still so many Pokemon. So I'm personally content with that.
Jake, you're a genius. You're 100% right. That was a lot of like the counter argument to when people were initially like, "Is this all we're getting?" And it's true. I mean, so you're 8 generations in. At this point, like, what are you gonna do? Just make Pokemon that are now just better than the Pokemon that existed before, so we
Right.
have a new game. Because then you get into power creep, where it's like you're just trying to one up the last generation.
Mhm.
And it's like, how does that make sense? So you're either going to make all the old Pokemon relatively weak compared to the new ones. It's just going to be outclassed, and you're going to end up with a lot of unused Pokemon.
Mhm.
Which, why do that? Why do all the animations just to make them redundant? And so that was cool. Like creating limitations, it forces creativity. As the Pokemon player, and I did kind of agree with that. You
Okay.
saw like Landorus Therian form, for example, was huge. Especially in competitive Pokemon, used like ever since it was introduced in, I think it was like Black and White 2. And I don't think we got him right away in Gen 8, and that was cool. So now all the teams are built around like different things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, why not? It was, I think it was VGC. So that's, for people who don't know, that's Pokemon's like official competitive format. It's doubles. Each team can use 4 at a time. So I believe it was Gen 5 Black and White where they had a rule only regional. You can only use the
Okay.
Pokemon that are new, and it was just to be like, hey, we gave you like 150 something new Pokemon, just use them.
Mhm.
Make it like a fresh game, make it a new game. So I think I see that as a good thing. Yeah, and like I said, we got a lot of legendaries that all did cool different things. They're called Ultra Beasts in this game.
Okay.
Without speaking too much about the in game, they're integrated pretty well into how the game plays. You don't have to drive to New York and stand in line, to get a Pokemon. They're there, which is cool. I mean, I love the legendaries in like Gen 4. But they were really inaccessible unless you had like an action replay or something like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, it wasn't quite a mythical trio in this game because it was 4, I believe. It was 4 of the fairies. They all set their terrain. There's a lot of cool
Okay.
additions for it. We got a lot of stuff. I know some of my favorites from this generation were Kartana, Toxapex, and then of course I think this is a fan favorite in general, Mimikyu. I have a Mimikyu shirt. That's
Mhm.
the Pikachu clone of this generation.
Right.
Very cool backstory. Got any other thoughts?
No, like I said, never played this one.
Mhm.
Interesting conversation though.
Yeah. I admittedly only played a little bit of the in game. I got frustrated with it. They have Z moves, which is you have one turn to make your move like a nuke. It
Okay.
increases the power by a whole lot. It has 100% accuracy. You can only use it once, and it takes up a hold item. Some people didn't like that because in regular gameplay, you have a Pokemon that my water type normally counters this fire type. You use a Z move fire type attack, whatever. And it's like, now I don't have a counter to it, and that's the end of the game. And that did frustrate me in game. I found it hard to play around that. But I liked not missing. I thought it was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have it anymore, but I don't like losing because of luck. And if a Focus Blast can now hit 100% of the time, just for one turn, it sounds good to me. But for those reasons, it's going to stay at number 5, just because I would maybe like to see a little bit more additions to it, and there were more advancements to the game itself in these other generations.
Okay.
This might be your favorite generation. I'm going to say
Yay.
next. Yeah, big yay for this. It's Gen 3, so that's going to be Ruby Sapphire, Emerald, and then of course Fire Red, Leaf Green.
Woot.
Yeah. So this was a great game. Was this your first introduction? It was, right? Because you said Fire Red or Leaf Green.
I played the Snap and what's the tournament style?
Pokemon Stadium.
Stadium, yes.
Yeah, some of the spin-off
Played
stuff.
that on that 64 a little bit, but yeah, I would say this is my first real introduction to the gaming Pokemon.
Nice. Yeah. And this was a good one because I'd say they got a lot of things worked out that they were maybe not sure about at first. I mean, Gen 1 was great because it started it all, but there was a lot of issues. I mean, there was a lot of there's just a lot of like bugs, like things were coded like accidentally into the game that affected it. Something like just random funny things, like if you use Fly and let's say you get fully paralyzed when you use Fly, you're like invincible for the rest of your turn in game.
That's fun.
Yeah, you can't beat that. So and it's like an accident.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just weird things all over that made it kind of odd. And then Gen 2 was good, but Gen 3 I think this is like when it's really started getting everything right, because we had abilities. So
this was the introduction of abilities.
Gen 3 was the introduction of
Nice.
abilities. So we're already given 135 new Pokemon in Ruby Sapphire. But then on top of that, we give abilities to older Pokemon. So some of these Pokemon feel like brand new and how you could use them, which is really cool. I'm thinking of like Gengar. Oh my gosh, like Gengar was always great. Gengar was great in Gen 1, 2, and 3, but now it gets Levitate. And of course, it doesn't have Levitate anymore, but now it's immune to like Earthquake. It makes sense because you kind of picture it always having levitated. It's brand new in that way, so it felt like a whole jump in the right direction. I won't talk too much about this because some people really don't care, but how you train your Pokemon was also very different, and Gen 3 started it this new way where you couldn't just use EVs to boost every stat across the board until everything's completely maxed out. You had to, if you wanted to max out one stat, you had to pick two. And that's how it is in modern day. So for example, Gen 2, you could use, so EVs is just like, you beat a Rhydon, it gives you, regular, how you would level up, but then maybe defense. It would boost that up a little bit more.
Okay.
So let's say you just beat like 100 Rhydon, and you're right before the Elite Four, and you're like, oh, these Rhydon, they're all level 40 something, whatever they are. They're going to give me a lot of points. It's actually not great to do that because now all of a sudden your defense is just skyrocketing because that's what you're training towards.
Okay.
If you were beating Gyarados instead, it would be boosting your speed and your attack. Gen 1, Gen 2, you could do that all across the board. Everything was boosted. Basically, what it meant is that everything was just, all these Pokemon were just super chunky, hard to beat.
Yeah.
They just had everything boosted all across the board. Gen 3 was like, all right, pick two, call it a day.
Okay.
You could spread it thin, but if you want to max it out, you got to pick two. And that made the games more fast-paced. Of course, the Pokemon are just literally weaker.
Yeah.
But it's cool, by subtraction. And there's a bunch of new items. In Gen 2, the good items were just leftovers, boost a little bit of health each game or each turn, or like a berry, cures your status.
Right.
In Gen 3, we had a bunch of new options. Some obvious ones were the choice items. Pick one move, boost your speed. Pick one move, boost your attack. And what that did was made it more fast-paced. Because now we're not just like sitting ducks, using rest. Everyone's just getting health back. So kind of more on the nerdy side, but this was cool to me. And then of course, I like the region. I said I wasn't going to spend too much time on the region, but I thought it was really cool how like half of it's land, half of it is water. That feels like more relatable to me, I guess. Like that's how like the planet is. Like there's a lot of water, there's a lot of earth, and so those are just like my immediate thoughts. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I also enjoyed the layout as well.
This is the layout of Hoenn, of course, that I'm talking about.
Yeah. I didn't play Gen 1 and 2, so I can't exactly compare the new Pokemon and the abilities and all that. I didn't realize this was the first generation with abilities. That's super cool. And like if you asked me before you said that, I probably would have said that abilities weren't even in Leaf Green. But I was so young that I didn't really understand the concept, so probably went right over my head. But in retrospect, that's pretty cool that it came in so early because the abilities is like a game-changing concept.
It is, yeah.
In Pokemon. I don't know. I just have so many fond memories of playing it on the Game Boy. Eventually, when I was a little bit older, to tell you a little secret,
tell it.
I actually sold like a friend in like kindergarten my Leaf Green for like $5 or like a cookie or something.
A businessman from the start.
Dude, the game's like $100 now.
Yep.
So silly.
I have two in my house actually. I think I have 2 Leaf Greens.
Nice. I have 0 nowadays.
I'm not giving you mine.
I wouldn't ask for it. But eventually, when I had an Android phone, I downloaded this app that let me play Game Boy games. So I was playing it on my phone when I was a little bit younger. So that was fun as well. Just a very fun game. I've played it so many times. So clearly, it has some replayability value to it.
Yeah. That is awesome. I mean, I loved those games, Fire Red and Leaf Green. A big part of it is because Kanto region itself, I just love a lot. Just a bit of nostalgia, and I think it's also just a great layout. And this probably isn't a deserved reason to like a game, but I could finally really read each word in this game.
Right.
So
That'll do it.
that'll do
And,
the trick.
This one had the birds, right? Or was it?
Did have the birds.
Okay. So
Birds are iconic.
those were very fun to find. Kind of it's post game, right?
It's not quite.
It doesn't
because-
have to be post game.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be. I'm not sure you necessarily need to get them. You find them, and they're not roaming is a big part.
Exactly.
Right. So you do have to.
It's a little
know
bit
where to
of a
find
maze,
them.
and
It
you
is.
got to think a little bit. So I enjoyed that, and then it is the most frustrating thing to have 99 or whatever max ultra balls and waste all of them on a bird and still not catch it.
Oh my god.
And then turn off your game and turn it back on and try again. Yeah, I think the last playthrough, I think I caught, what is it, Articuno and Zapdos, and I killed Moltres by accident.
Jeez.
And that was that. So I got 2 out of 3.
Well, you got the good one. Zapdos is the good one.
Zapdos
That's
is
how
all
I
you
see
need.
it.
Yeah, I agree. Zapdos was my favorite.
And probably the coolest one. I mean, it's spiky, so it's like you inherently know it's going to be like I wouldn't want to touch it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to touch the fire on Moltres, but like
right.
Zapdos is spiky. It's gonna hurt my finger. Is how I see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gotta protect the finger.
gotta protect the fingers. No, that's a good point. So that's funny that you say that because the birds, they're great. They're iconic. Zapdos is great. Articuno, Moltres, a little iffy in my opinion. I'd say something about Gen 3 that is maybe good and bad is so the mythical trio. Let's talk about that if you remember them. Mythical trio for the Hoenn region would be the Reggies.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Reggie-Rock, Reggie-Steel,
Right,
and
okay.
Regice.
Yeah.
I think every kid just had to use the walkthrough to find out how to get them.
Yeah.
It was something crazy. I think you had to go to like this underwater cave while having a Wailord and a Relicanth in your party.
Okay.
No one's gonna do that by accident. That's how I see it.
Right.
Like, how are you gonna have like 2 water types that you don't need
Mm-hmm.
on the same party by accident? And I think it was like some kind of like braille or whatever to read that message.
I do remember that.
That I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that there's kind of like a code to get in. Even if you do look it up, it feels like you're in on it. I feel like maybe the Reggies were kind of a letdown after getting the birds and then the legendary beasts from Gen 2. You said you maybe didn't play those games, but you at least know Raikou, Suicune, Entei.
I watched the movie.
You watched the movie, so you know they're
Yeah.
cool, right? And I guess the Reggies, they look cool, but if you played the game and tried using them, they don't do much.
I totally agree.
They're slow and they're not strong.
I never like them too much. They look cool.
Yeah.
I never really used them in my party.
They're hard to use.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Even
one.
even in
yeah.
Arceus.
Right. Because so I love using them as an example when people are like, oh, legendaries, it's kind of cheating. Like they're always going to be much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Reggies. Put a Regice in your party and fight me with it, and then tell me that you're stronger than me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. But they're cool, and I like the idea of them. But yeah. No, it's fine. There were great Pokemon in this gen. I like how. So I always thought of Gen 2 as there was like a lot of novelty Pokemon, like off the top of my head, like Wobbuffet. Being like a Pokemon that kind of does nothing on purpose. It was part of like the joke. Team Rocket had a Wobbuffet.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, here's Wobbuffet. Oh, it did nothing again. Like, wish we didn't have him. I don't know why we don't get rid of him. That was funny. Shuckle, which was also just a Pokemon that did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they all have things they can do. Like, especially in competitive. But like when you play the game, you're not doing anything with these.
Right.
I like that Gen 3 also had like funny Pokemon. I mean, I don't know if you remember the Slack Off line. Final Evolution is slacking.
Okay.
And it had the Truant ability, which means that every other turn it takes a nap.
That's funny.
So you can't use it every other turn. Right.
Yeah.
And it's a gag. I mean, everyone's like, I wish this wasn't a thing. It's the only ability this Pokemon has.
That's funny.
It's just a meme that Game Freak did. Maybe they thought they were balancing the game, but no, it's unusable. Yeah. But it's still funny. It has to talk about it. I don't know if you know Shedinja, that Pokemon.
No.
So there was. I'm so funny for not remembering this name. but there's the bug Pokemon that evolves into Ninjask.
Okay.
And when it evolves and you have an extra Pokeball and an open slot, I believe, in your team, then you get the shell of the Pokemon. And it's a bug and ghost type. Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy. And so if you didn't know about like that mechanic and you evolved your Pokemon and all of a sudden there was a second Pokemon in your party that's a ghost type and it's literally the ghost of the Pokemon that just evolved.
Right.
It's like, that's crazy. And
What are
tell
the
me more.
implications here?
So
I'm interested.
The implications is that it's Ninjask and Shedinja, right?
Yeah.
So it shed its shell, and that shell becomes a Pokemon, and the base Pokemon evolves into Ninjask.
Yeah, but I'm saying, does an evolved Pokemon die?
So
where's the ghost coming from?
Right. So the Pokemon itself doesn't die, but I think its shell that it had on like dies, like its dead skin.
Okay.
And that like dead skin is a Pokemon. Is like
so
a new Pokemon.
like its soul splits in half.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's like the spirit of ghost types anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, are they living or are they ghosts? It's
Right,
like, yeah,
right.
I mean, I don't know. Right?
Okay.
No, but you're totally right. And it had Wonder Guard? I think it's Wonder Guard ability. So it's hard coded 1 HP. It doesn't follow regular like stat rules.
Okay.
It's always gonna have 1 HP, and it can't die unless it gets hit by a super effective move.
Oh.
Super situational. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now there was no team preview, so you could keep a Shedinja like in the back of your party. It could be the final reveal, and you're like, "Crap, I don't have like a fire move. I don't know.
Right.
Like, I don't have a dark move.
Yeah.
I lose."
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Not great, but it was fun. I like those kinds of things. And then we get like just like great cool Pokemon on top of that. Like it wasn't all gags. We get Flygon, we get Metagross. The starters are cool. I know Swampert was still is a big one, a cool one.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean those are definitely some of my favorites. I love like Breloom and Melodic, and the legendaries. They're cool legendaries in this game. Deoxys.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of legendaries in this game.
There were. I mean before. I feel like they didn't do that with legendaries. Maybe they didn't know that they could.
Yeah.
Right? Honestly, like they were like, "Oh, we'll do like one, event Pokemon. It'll be Celebi, but sorry, states, you're not getting Celebi." And then in Gen 3, it's like, "Wait, we could do Deoxys and we'll do Jirachi, and we'll let America get them too." You know?
You know what it might have been?
What?
Not to gas up the anime, but maybe they just had to keep up with the anime because there were so many movies in this period. This was like peak Pokemon movie era.
Oh yeah.
And there was just like 4 movies in the span of one game, so they kind of had to shove them all in there to keep up with it.
That's totally right, because first of all, I'm thinking, so there was a movie that was like dedicated to Entei.
Yes.
There wasn't going to be a movie dedicated to Regirock.
No.
Right? There couldn't be.
No.
What, Regirock talks in the movie? Like, what was he going to do?
Yeah.
You got to make so you got to get the Jirachi movie, Deoxys
movie.
I think there was a Rayquaza, or was Rayquaza built into the Deoxys movie? I think it was.
Maybe it was built into it. There was like a, I think, Mew Lucario movie, but that might have been on the tail end of the generation.
Yeah, that's funny. Wait, I think Lucario would have been like maybe right before the games for Gen 4 came out.
Yeah. There had to have been 1 or 2 other ones.
Yeah.
In that era.
No, that's interesting, because like these legendaries, well, that's movie material right there.
Exactly.
You'll make a whole movie that all the kids will have to go see.
I loved all of them.
And they'll all be loved.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just design one legendary.
Yeah.
And make it so Pokemon Center in New York gives it away one day.
Right. Was it only New York? That's kind of obnoxious.
I feel like a lot of the events were like only Pokemon Center.
And
New York.
is that where Nintendo is nowadays? I think I read that somewhere.
I'm not quite sure. I'm getting tested on things that I don't have the absolute answer to, which is okay. I'm extremely embarrassed out of it. But I'm going to say that I think that Pokemon Center is closed, though.
It definitely is closed. Yeah. But I think it's where the current Nintendo Manhattan. Someone
please let us know to get us out of this, because we don't know. We have no way of finding it out.
Yeah.
No Google to search it. So that's good. I mean, that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on Gen 3. Should we go on a quick break before hopping into 3?
Sure thing.
Has this ever happened to you?
This video game is bullshit!
Are you tired of gaping plot holes and boring gameplay mechanics?
Look, all I'm saying is that if a full-fledged Krogan is falling off a platform, there's no way Commander Shepard has the upper arm strength to pull him up.
Has reading become just too tedious of a chore?
Ugh, books.
Are you bored of your same 3 murder podcasts?
Shocking. It's The Butler.
Allow me to introduce you to the brand new fan fiction podcast with an X, hosted by our lovely basement-dwelling and real-life Muppet, Dan McCoy.
Well, that's hurtful.
And myself, of course, the blonde bombshell with the blood of Odin and the great looks of Jake Busey from Starship Troopers.
That's accurate.
And with our powers combined...
No.
Oh, you never let me do what I want to do.
I said no, man. We're not doing that.
Fine. Anyway, you can find us on Apple Podcasts wherever you get your fix from. Remember, fan fiction with an X.
Welcome to our new podcast. Welcome to our new podcast.
This isn't working.
Agreed. I think we're going to have to do it turn by turn.
Well, now that you mention it, we are a brand new RPG video game podcast.
Our very existence hinges on turn-based gaming.
So join us on the Turn by Turn podcast, where we'll be talking about
Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Golden Sun, Shining Force, Mother, and so many more.
It's your turn to come and join us.
And we're back. All right, guys. So what we just said, what the number 4 place was. I think that brings us into the number 3 place. So for me, I was doing a little bit of research just because I was interested. Like, what are other people's takes on the top 5 placements? Like, I don't really discuss this with people every day, and I saw, like, weirdly a lot of hate for Gen 6. I know that in terms of like critical acclaim for Pokemon X and Y, it didn't really get that, especially after people seemed to really like Black and White 2. And I know that we didn't get like Pokemon Z. People were, maybe anticipating, we're going to get like the Zygarde game. We always get the 3rd game, whether that be like 2 or whether that be like an Emerald or a Platinum. Maybe that like got people upset about it. But I really, really, really liked X and Y and Gen 6 in general. So that's the Kalos region. We got like Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie. I definitely wasn't watching the anime at this point. I understand that Greninja was maybe a big part in the anime at this point. We saw Greninja in Smash Bros, which is a game that we also play when we're not playing Pokemon, and that is very cool. So, I stood in line at midnight and got this game, and it was a good time. I put in a lot of hours into it. Now, why is that only 3rd place then, if I'm so excited about this game? Because we got very, very little Pokemon. How I see it in this, it was the first 3D Pokemon game. Maybe that's what put them behind. We only got 72. Now, Gen 5 gave us a lot. In Gen 5, we got, the starting Pokedex is just the Unovan Pokemon, just the Gen 5 Pokemon. And maybe that could have been a part of it. They're like, look, we just gave you all those Gen 5s. We have to 3D model these Pokemon. Can you please just do 72? Fine. Right. And then additionally, we got the controversial Mega Evolutions in Gen 6. I know I was a little bit like hesitant on how I felt about them, just because it was like, okay, new mechanics, like how does this work? Like I thought we already had Charizard. Why aren't we getting like new Pokemon instead? Why are you like just putting costumes on existing Pokemon? Is how some people felt, and how I felt at first too. But I actually came around to loving Mega Evolutions. I think it was awesome. I mean, there's a lot of like older Pokemon that I think didn't get the love they deserved. Maybe because Game Freak wasn't super concerned about having like a very, very balanced game, or maybe thought, if this Pokemon is like bad and not really playable and isn't going to be in tournaments, that's okay. They don't all have to be that way. So what I'm saying is like, okay, Sableye, Mawile. Do you remember these Pokemon?
No, this is another generation that I missed. I probably won't be able to speak a ton on this one.
That's fine with me because I love talking about this generation. I'll use those as examples. Sableye, Mawile, they were very cool designs, and conceptually they were very cool too. I mean, Sableye kind of seemed like a cave lurking Pokemon that liked diamonds. It was Ghost and Dark, very edgy typings, kind of an edgy Pokemon. Kind of felt like the original like Mimikyu, just kind of like just an edgy Pokemon. And then Mawile was an odd Pokemon because it was pure steel typing for whatever reason, and it kind of looked like a fairy that had like an alligator coming out of its head, or a crocodile, I should say. And they were unusable. Really, like they were just weak. Couldn't do much with them. You get Mega Sableye, and you get Mega Mawile, and they're like the two coolest Pokemon of all time. And I saw that, and I was like, oh well, that's not too bad. Well, I'll take that. And then you get Pokemon that kind of got more love that they always deserved but didn't have. So think about like Charizard, a fan favorite since Gen 1, and never got the Dragon typing. Dragon wasn't a great type in Gen 1. It was more of like, you know, more just part of the lore maybe.
Okay.
Like there weren't Dragon moves really in Gen 1. There was only one. Like, I think it was Dragon Rage, and it did a fixed amount. It did 40 HP. Now, when all your Pokemon are level 100, that's basically nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing. So it's a wasted type. It's good defensive, but you don't do anything with it. So now there's plenty of moves, and you get Mega Charizard X, a very, very, very cool Fire and Dragon. I'm like, thank you. This is like, as someone who's following from the start, even you, maybe follow anime from the start, might think that's very cool to see a Dragon type Charizard. You get Pokemon like Beedrill. Beedrill, like, I've been following that Pokemon. Pidgeot, like, I always knew them as bad, and I wish I could use them because, like, I'd see them, like, in the anime, and now we get the Mega Beedrill, we get the Mega Pidgeot. They're great. They have great abilities. They have boosted stats. I am having a great time now. Just to name a few.
Revived some Pokemon that needed.
That is a brilliant word from a brilliant mind. Exactly. And then, of course, so we didn't have just X and Y for Gen 6. We also had the Gen 3 remakes. And people were anticipating those a lot, and they did get them. I mean, obviously, like, because the trend was apparent at that point.
Right.
But those games were great, and we also got the Megas for Sceptile, Blaziken, and Swampert, and those were all great too. So I personally wish they stuck with this. They took away Megas to allow for the Dynamax mechanic in Gen 8.
Right.
So we're not seeing them now. I want them to come back for Gen 9. I'm thinking they might just come up with like a new gimmick.
Yeah. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, most people were not as fond of these mechanics as you are.
Not as fond of the Mega Evolution mechanics.
As well as like Dynamaxing.
I'd say it's maybe a bit split. I know that outside of like Pokemon's official VGC format, just like singles that you would play on like Pokemon Showdown, like you were talking about, Dynamaxing it's actually banned because it's just broken. It's overpowered. I mean, they basically wanted an easy way for any Pokemon to like quote like Mega Evolve. It lasts 3 turns. All the Pokemon or all the moves that you have become super strong and stat boosting, and it's just too good. I mean, the only way that you can beat a Dynamax is Dynamaxing yourself defensively, wasting out the Dynamax turns, or just using Ditto and copying it. Just literally stealing their Dynamax.
Smart. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah. And so for the first like week or so when the game came out, that's just what people were doing. Everyone had a Ditto on their team. Go ahead, Dynamax, boost all your stats.
Yeah.
I'll just copy you. We'll both be sad.
Okay. Makes sense they would ban it then. That's kind of boring.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing that.
Yeah. And but then in VGC, I mean, those games are so short. It's doubles, so everything's happening twice as fast. You're only using 4 instead of 6 Pokemon.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. That's challenging.
Yeah. So it's very fast paced. You have to think really hard about each move. I mean, Dynamaxing only being 3 turns, like the games aren't lasting that long anyway. I I don't know. I guess it works for that. I don't hear people complaining about it in that sense. I definitely prefer megas.
Okay.
But surely I have more thoughts than that. Oh yeah, this. Looking at my notes, I just remembered that we didn't get a mythical trio, which is sad and kind of goes towards the whole like we didn't get as many Pokemon as maybe we could have. They're probably, I don't know what's going on with them. Just I guess 3D graphics is my only excuse that I can think of. Maybe they took on more than they could chew with that. I see Pokemon, they do a lot of like experimenting. Like, let's try this out, see how people feel about it, do the next thing. A thing I liked was the fairy typing. Genius. I mean, everyone knows, you don't have to play competitive to know that dragons became super strong starting like Gen 3. Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5. Dragon types are great. I mean, just think about like Latios, Rayquaza, Salamence, Haxorus. I could just literally just name every dragon type and you'll know what I'm talking about. And it became apparent. I know that in Gen 5, I just had a team that was just all dragons. Yeah. It was called, I stole it from someone online. It was called Drag. And you literally just use a full team of dragons.
Nice.
Yeah, you have a steel type? Who cares? You'll 2-hit, 3-hit KO it with Outrage.
Right.
Bring your Heatran out. It's done. I'll use Earthquake instead. I don't know. And fairy types, it is like, wow, this like could have existed the whole time. And so they retroactively changed a bunch of types. And I felt like it breathed new life, not into just this generation, but all of Pokemon. I mean, a bunch of Pokemon got fixed up. Clefable, that was just all normal type.
Right.
Clefairy evolves into Clefable. Make it pure fairy. Genius. I love it. Clefable's amazing. I love using Clefable. And then we get like a Azumarill, water and fairy. It worked so well. We got Sylveon, which is I won't spoil anything in the case of a future episode, but I do happen to very much like the Eevee evolution Sylveon.
Yes, you do.
A fairy type. So that was brilliant. I tipped my hat. And what else we did? Oh, we got so for people that played a bit of like Gen 5 battling, weather's permanent. So what happens if you have an ability like Drought or Sandstream, you use your Tyranitar, and the Sandstorm lasts the entire game.
Yeah.
So let's say you build, we'll pick Politoed and the Drizzle ability. You start with Politoed, Rain is the entire game now. So you have a team that is fully built around using the rain power, whether that's Swift Swim, makes your Pokemon faster. Having a water move, your water moves stronger. Now you just have the advantage over your entire team right from the opposing team from the very start because your team is built around a weather effect.
Right.
There was in unofficial tournaments. I mean, there was like complex bans to like fix that up to make the games more fun.
Okay.
And
so if another Pokemon came with another weather effect, does it override it, or how does that work?
It does, and that's what people call weather wars, which is a lot of what Black and White was. It was a weather war. You build your team, and it's what weather is your team.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah,
it's funny. It's
And didn't some items or Pokemon abilities or something like that also negate weather effects?
Yeah, there definitely were some. I know that in if you're playing in a tier that uses legendaries, like in the unofficial like Smogon Uber's tier, Rayquaza with its ability would negate that. But if you're not using Rayquaza, then you're stuck with Pokemon like Golduck or like Altaria.
Oh, okay.
And if you have a water team, I mean, and Golduck is an option, you might as well just use Swift Swim Golduck. And use like a faster Golduck instead of negating it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I could just debunk all this. So there are, but I don't think that they were super viable. And you're better off just trying to set up your own weather and disadvantage them.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, did this soil gameplay a little bit these weather wars, or was it kind of a new level added to it that was enjoyable?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a lot of people, they maybe liked doing weather wars. I know that it took a while to work out like what deserved to be banned and what didn't get banned. For example, Excadrill I don't know if you know Excadrill. Very cool Pokemon. He's a mole, and he was on every team. He was really good, just really strong. Could beat anything. And so they had to. It's like, oh well, maybe like this ability on that Pokemon should be banned, or maybe this ability with that other ability on the same team should. You know, a lot of like that discussion was going on.
Okay.
And it's good. Like it's a good game. But I prefer to not have it be that kind of gameplay where I'm just fighting a weather versus weather.
Right.
Basically, I took all that time to say Gen 6 made weather limited.
Oh,
It's 5 turns. It's 5 turns in Gen 6.
There you go.
You have a hold item that makes it longer. Now it's 8 turns.
Okay.
So you gotta be, you can't waste time. Essentially, it's more fast paced, and I think fast paced gameplay is pretty cool. So I would prefer that.
Okay.
And yeah. So and it just brought more diversity with no weather teams. Well, there were weather teams, but it wasn't just weather war every game, and the dragons weren't broken anymore. So that was really cool to me. I mean, that's all I got. I believe you said you didn't play much of Gen 6. You don't have too much to say.
Right.
So, I mean, if you don't have any other thoughts on it, I can hop right into my number 2.
Yeah, let's move on to that.
Absolutely. So, number 2 is going to be Gen 5.
Okay.
Gen 5, I believe, had the biggest inclusion of new Pokemon. 156 is what I'm seeing.
That's what I'm seeing.
That is a lot. Gen 1 had 151, right? You count Mew. And that's a lot. Like that's a lot of designs, a lot of stats, like a lot of coding in general. And they topped it. That was like a big deal. And I think the Japanese game came out first, so I remember I was anticipating it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I was like so excited to learn all the new moves, and I had to learn like the bad translations of all the names first. I was learning all the Pokemon by their Japanese names. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like I guess they wanted it to be perfect, and they were like making sure everything got translated correctly, coded correctly, and it was awesome. Some like immediate new things beyond just having like a whole crap ton of new Pokemon was there's team previews now.
Okay.
So before each game, like let's say you play Gen 3, you play Gen 4, you only know what Pokemon they have once they reveal it.
Right.
So it's a bit of a guessing game. If they have a Pokemon where if you hit them with an electric move, their speed gets boosted, you're not going to know that until it's too late.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a lot of like that kind of gameplay is built around like just having experience, just pure knowledge. Like I know this ability exists on this Pokemon, and if I see they have a Gyarados, it seems too obvious to use an electric move because it's 4 times effective. I have to fear that they may have this switch in. That's challenging to get into when you're a new player.
Right.
And you're like, I can't even like look up what Pokemon I'm fighting. Like it's until it's too late.
Yeah.
Team previews made it cool.
Okay.
More like a chess match. Everyone knows what each other has.
Yeah.
How are you going to play around it?
So previews let you see abilities as well?
No, it's not going to. All it's going to tell you is simply what Pokemon they have.
Okay,
I think it tells you what level they're at too.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's still like you still have to find out maybe what ability they're using.
Right.
Some Pokemon they run 2 popular abilities and it makes a big difference. I mean, Clefable is a big example. Has the Unaware ability where no stat boosting moves will play an effect on its damage. So like let's say you get to +6.
Okay.
On your Thunderbolt is at +6. It's going to do the same damage either way to Clefable. Or the Clefable could be Magic Guard, which means that it doesn't take passive damage effectively.
Okay.
Huge, hugely different. Are you going to spend 10 turns getting to +6 only to realize that the Clefable didn't care ever?
Right.
So it didn't give away everything, but it kind of
That's interesting.
It made the game kind of like more immediate, I would say.
Yeah.
And I like that. How I understand it is they had to introduce that because Zoroark, Zoroark, that Pokemon, Dark type, looks like a fox.
Maybe if I saw it.
Maybe if you saw it. You can pull it up on your phone and then
That's
maybe
true.
see if you saw it or not.
I'll Google it.
But that was going to be an important Pokemon in terms of just mascotting. It was basically like Gen 5's Lucario. Not a legendary, but designed to be cool, relatable, edgy. They were going to, have a movie around it, have it incorporated to the anime, and they couldn't have it be a boring Pokemon to use if they're going to make it so important. So it had the illusion ability, which it takes the appearance of another Pokemon in the party.
Right. This guy was in Arceus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where I know him from.
The regional form, where it was normal and ghost, was in Legends Arceus. Very cool. So it had the illusion ability, where it takes on the form of another Pokemon.
Okay,
right?
cool.
It was thematic, I guess, with like the show or the movie, and then they got to testing, and they're like, "Oh, this is bad. Like, it's a dark type, so you could pretend to be a fighting type, but you were immune to psychic the whole time." It was like, this. Did we just like break the game? Like, is everyone just going to use this, and now it's not competitive anymore? So like, just make it so you could see if they have a Zoroark from the start. Team preview.
Yeah.
And it changed it. That changed it all right there, and I think people just really liked it more that way.
Yeah, that changes a lot of implications there. I feel like in the grand scheme of things, it would make it a more like strategic game, knowing what you're up against. Like you said, kind of like chess.
Yeah.
It's less random and luck, and you actually know what you're up against.
Totally. I mean, how I see it is when there's no team preview, it really is built more around luck. Like, let's say they've only revealed half their team. Mm-hmm. Are you going to start setting up, use a million dragon dances, hoping that they don't have anyone else that could counter you? Yeah. They might not, they might. And that's like luck. So I prefer the team previews. I think that was a great step in the right direction. Also, what else was cool? So 156 new Pokemon. Well, not just that. They also introduced hidden abilities for almost every single Pokemon that already existed. Okay. Now, there are some Pokemon that were more or less like redundant until they got these new abilities and just changed how they were used completely. Right. For example, Venusaur. Venusaur was okay. Mm-hmm. But the hidden ability Chlorophyll doubles its speed in the sun. That's a sun sweeper now. Yeah. It changes what they can do completely. And on top of that, adds a little bit more of guessing games because, well, what kind of Pokemon am I seeing? Like, for example, the Clefable. And so that just seemed like so much work was put into it, so much thought, and they really cared about how like the battling would play out in this, which is, like I said, how I play the game. Yeah,
you know what? With all of these abilities, it does make sense that they would have the Pokemon previews, because it still doesn't matter too much. Because I mean, you already said it, but you don't know which way they're gonna go. Sure. So you can't just completely like foresee and dominate your opponent.
That's so true, because like, if you were that disadvantaged, you don't know maybe what ability they're running. And on top of it, you don't know what moveset they're running. Right. Right? Like, are they set up? Like, do they use Swords Dance and then sweep, or, Yeah.
And that's if anyone has as big a brain as yours and actually memorizes all these movesets and abilities. So
that's if you can even keep up. Exactly. Okay, let's talk about fun, not nerdy things. The designs were actually... because 156 Pokemon, like, there's got to be some designs that were iffy or maybe aren't going to connect with everyone. Now, like I said, like, I love Pokemon for what it is. I'm just always going to roll with the designs. There were some funny, silly designs going on. We already had the Pokeball Pokemon, right? We had Voltorb, we had Electrode. Right. Their whole gimmick is they look like a Pokeball. It kind of works in the in-game, because if you see a Pokeball on the ground, it could be an Electrode. Right. Now we got a Moongus, another Pokeball Pokemon. Some people were like, please, for the love of God, stop giving us Pokeballs. People were a little bit annoyed that we were just, getting objects and putting eyeballs on them. Right. Right.
Yeah, I do remember these conversations.
Yeah, so like, Honedge is a sword with eyeballs. Hilarious. I'm all for it. That's cool. I love swords. Oh, it's a sword, you fight with it. I mean, yeah. Right. Let's sign me up. Chandelure is a chandelier with eyeballs. Yep. I love the Pokemon. I love using it.
Yep.
That's very cool to me. I mean, I've already told you, I love to bring this up. Gen 1, we had plenty of that. Like I said, the Voltorb Electrode situation.
Right.
We had Seal that was a seal, and its name was Seal, and it looked like a seal.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta think at this point they're sitting in the room brainstorming these Pokemon. You know, you're already 100 in for the new generation. You gotta just have fun with it at some point.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of lose those creative juices at some point, and this is what you end up with.
Right, and
Can't
it's-
really complain.
And it's all going to balance out. You'll get some cool, thoughtful ideas, and then you'll just get a sword.
Yeah.
And the sword will be great. Aegislash, Final Evolution, that's a great
Right.
Pokemon. Everyone loved using it. It was very cool. If the design is odd, it's it's a handheld game. Just play it.
Yep.
Yeah. So some of my favorites, I'll say, I don't even know if I said my favorites from Gen 6. That was going to be my thing, as I would just say random favorites. I already talked about Mega Sableye, whatever. Well, my favorites from Gen 5. I thought Volcarona was really cool. I actually love Amoonguss, the Pokeball-looking
Okay.
plant Pokemon. And Darmanitan. Of course, the starters I also thought were really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was Snivy, so Superior. I thought
Okay.
it was a really cool grass-type starter. Probably
Yeah.
my favorite grass-type starter. And that, I think is all I have to say. Oh, the typings. All the typings were also really cool. I guess because they had so many new ones, they
Okay.
weren't afraid to just, try some things out.
Yeah.
Ghost and Steel is very cool typing. We got down Aegislash. Dark and Dragon, finally. 5 gens. Of course, it's going to
Finally.
be the coolest typing.
Yeah.
Hydreigon. What else was cool that we had? Oh, Pure Flying. Oh my gosh. Even as an actual child, I was like, Game Freak, you really keep giving us normal and flying. As
Yeah.
if that is like a thing that needs to be a thing.
Right.
Like, it's okay to not do that every time. Like, every other type is a pure type, and we
Yeah.
don't get pure flying until Gen 5. And
There's absolutely none until 5.
there literally was not a pure flying type
That's
until Gen
hilarious.
5, and it's a legendary.
That is so funny.
It's so funny.
Who is it?
Tornadus.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So yeah, Tornadus. I mean, that's a great Pokemon. What else is really cool is that we got 2 rounds of mythical trios for Gen 5. So we got Thundurus. They're the genies. Okay.
Okay.
We got Thundurus. We got Tornadus. We got Landorus, and then Black and White 2. We get them again,
Right.
but in Therian form. So it's different designs, different abilities, different stats. Sign me up. That sounds great.
Yeah.
People love these trios. I mean, they're really common Pokemon and competitive, and they make me very happy.
All right.
So, yeah, that's all I got.
Let's hear about Gen 4. How about it?
Gen 4. How did you know that was my number
uno.
1? How did you know that was my number 1?
It's kind of obvious.
Oh my god, you scared me.
It's got to be.
It is Gen 4. It is Gen 4.
I would have been mad. I might have quit this season if it wasn't.
I would have quit the season if it had not Gen 4.
You're on your
honestly.
own, Sam.
That was Jake wins this episode. We can tally up Jake for this.
If I know
episode.
one thing about Pokemon, it's that Gen 4 is the best.
Yeah, Gen 4 is a rock solid generation. Let's start talking about it. Okay, so it's the number 1 pick. It is the best one. We get a respectable 107 new additions to the Pokedex in this. We get an extremely important part of Pokemon mechanics in that typings are not specific to physical or special. They could be anything. So to give you an example, let's say Breloom. Breloom is a fighting and grass type introduced in Gen 3. You're not going to use grass moves on it in Gen 3 because grass moves had to be special. They had to be special attacks. So if you didn't have a high special attack in your grass type, you can't use that typing. It's not going to be very powerful. It's not worth it. You might as well use a different coverage move. A Pokemon like Gyarados really struggled in like Gen 1 because it couldn't really use a water move. Its water move wasn't that strong. And it was more of a physical attacker. So in Gen 4, they said, I'm sorry that we did that to you. I'm not sure why we did it. Probably to make coding easier.
Right.
Let's just split it so any Pokemon could hit physical or special from any typing as long as it has those moves.
It makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And they said, and to make it up to you, we're going to have all the starters have subversive typing and attack and special.
There you go.
I'll try to make this as not boring as possible. So, Empoleon, water and steel. Well, steel used to be
Beautiful.
physical. That's a beautiful typing.
So
it's
good.
perfect. Please tell me that we can use it somehow.
Yeah.
Don't let us just have Steel Wing. We get Flash Cannon. We get hit on the special side.
Yes.
Infernape, fire and fighting. Sure, you can go mixed, or you can use Focus Blast, a special fighting move.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Torterra with its very cool wood hammer. That's a new move added to the game to allow grass types to hit physically. Genius.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now we have Seed Bomb Breloom. This is what I wanted in Gen 3. And on top of that, we got awesome moves added. I mean, I already talked about Wood Hammer. We all knew that was cool.
Mhm.
Brave Bird. Everyone had Staraptor. Everyone knew Brave Bird. You use it. It's a very cool move. It sounds cool. We
Very
got Close
nice.
Combat. I mean, that's another.
That's a new one.
It was
I
it was
love
new.
close combat.
Who doesn't? Hard to hate. Hard to hate that move. You had it on Infernape. You had it on Staraptor, Lucario. All the cool Pokemon were close combating.
Right.
And it was about time, too. I mean, what were your fighting options before close combat? In Gen 1, you had Submission, which you hurt yourself, and you miss, is what it is. You had, like, Sky Uppercut if you were Breloom, which you miss and is weak. So now it's usable. I mean, it becomes a more competitive game with more options. Yeah, like I was saying, like those sideline offensive typings that didn't get a lot of love, they have those moves now. I know, like Dark. Dark was always supposed to be a very cool typing. Dark is cool and edgy, right? What moves were we going to use? We're going to use Crunch and hit that specially? No one could do that.
Right.
Now you get Dark Pulse, you get Crunch to be physical, and that was great. Because before we were relying on Hidden Power, which is just a generic move any Pokemon can learn. At best, it hits 70 base power. That's not good enough, especially in competitive. Stealth Rock became a move that a lot of like rock types, ground types could learn, and if you switch in, you take damage. That made the games a lot more fast-paced because you couldn't just switch for free every time. If you wanted to switch, you had to pay the price just a little bit at least. I could keep going, but are there any thoughts that you have dear and close to your heart?
Yeah, well, I can't speak about it as technically, but loved this generation of gameplay. The legendaries we got were fantastic, in my opinion. Dialga and Palkia.
Oh, yeah.
Two beautiful legendaries. They look great. They play great. Trying to... Oh, you know what? We have a whole episode... Not a whole episode, but we talked about this in another Pokemon episode where the... is it Team Galactic? Or
Oh my gosh,
what's
no,
the
we
team
did
in
have
this
this
one?
debate, and I feel like it was like the
It's not
Mandela
Galactic?
effect for both of us, where we couldn't figure out if it was Galaxy or Galactic. I think it's Galactic. It's definitely Galactic.
Well, fantastic plot line. Very
It's deep.
big stakes involved.
Yeah.
The whole we get some lore finally coming into Pokemon with the history and like space and time and all of that. Very cool. I mentioned the underground area and the multiplayer aspect of this game. That was super cool. At least as a kid, I don't know how well it would have held up. They like remastered it in the ports as well, so they added stuff to the underground area. I didn't play that, but looked cool. I don't know. Yeah, well, I just really I remember very much enjoying playing Diamond.
Totally. Yeah, I said I wouldn't talk too much about the story, and that's because one, I don't remember a lot of the stories from these games. Two, I haven't completed all the stories for a lot of these games too. But just because it's my number one, why not say it? This did feel like a story that you could maybe connect to, or maybe felt like some kind of impact from. It's deep for a kid,
Yeah.
Space and time. Those are big brain concepts. I mean, Gen 1 and 2, it was Team Rocket stealing Pokemon. I mean, that's relatable as a kid. Like, you know, a sense of justice. Oh, I don't want something stolen from me that belongs to me if I worked for it. Right? Gen 3, I mean, you have Team Magma, Team Aqua, and they're basically fighting over if it's, like, cooler to swim in the water or stand on the land. I mean, sure, but it doesn't feel as serious as what Team Galactic
Right.
was interested in.
Also,
Mhm.
was the unknown Pokemon, were they in previous generations?
Yeah, they were
Oh, okay.
introduced in Gen 2, which
Oh,
is I'll give some honorable mentions.
Okay.
Gen 2 was definitely like the king of gimmicks.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they designed all those unknowns, literally just
Yeah.
I don't know, to spell your name in like a party or something.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think they were in Gen 4, and they were a cool part.
Yeah,
of it.
there's like a whole like, I don't know, like mountain cave. I don't know. It was cool to explore.
Yeah.
Very, very mazy and like kind of like hidden foresty from Zelda.
Yeah.
Where like every area, like every new quote unquote room looked exactly the same. So you got lost very easily.
Yeah, and they kind of brought that like idea into Legends Arceus, in that you find like the unknown that are kind of like hidden.
Those were very fun.
Against the wall. Those are fun. Bit of a throwback. Yeah. What else? So I guess I'm realizing like I really like the underdogs of Pokemon.
Okay.
Like I want all Pokemon to be good. I don't like saying that a Pokemon's bad. Some are, but I don't like saying it. And I like it when Game Freak is like, let's make them not bad anymore.
Yeah.
So Gen 4 was awesome with this because we got so many final evolutions.
Oh, okay.
If you could, I might be able to name some that you could remember, but like Togekiss.
Mm-hmm.
Togekiss is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I love Togekiss. And it's because Togepi, sure, it was like more of like a mascot.
Yeah.
And Togetic, it evolved into kind of like not even really as well known or as popular as Togepi, and it ended there. Who's
Right.
using those Pokemon? No one. We got Togekiss. Sneasel was always supposed to be cool. Dark and Ice.
Mm-hmm.
As a weasel,
That's pretty cool.
it seems it's like looks like it could like cut things. And we get Weavile. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Weavile's always been great. And Gliscor. We got Yanmega. And it's funny because this is all of Gen 2. It's
No,
like
you're just saying noises now.
I'm just making
You're just
noises.
making noises.
Happy noises, though. Yeah. They fixed Gen 2 is what I want to say.
Yeah,
Gen 4
okay,
fixed
yeah.
Gen 2 because Gen 2 didn't want to power creep. They didn't want to be like,
Yeah.
well, let's just do a generation that's just stronger than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And Gen 4 was like, well, they can be a little bit stronger, so let's just give them evolutions now.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I mean, yeah, they did great designs. I'll name a couple favorites that I have from it. Like, all the starters. I'd have to rank them like Infernape and then Empoleon and then Torterra.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they were all great. I loved Garchomp, obviously. Basically, all of Cynthia's team is genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Garchomp and Lucario.
This generation, did this one add the like beauty contest? Was that new to this one?
Beauty
Or-
contest. I think they had that in Gen 3 too.
A doofus.
Yeah, at least when like you use a move and they judge it based on like the aesthetics of the move. Yeah, because I think that was also in the anime. Didn't?
Alright, but they did add, because it was the first DS game, right?
Yeah.
You had like tracker thing that showed you where there's hidden items like nearby.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty cool. Where you're just always tapping the bottom screen.
Wasn't it like? Didn't they have like an app built into?
There's like several apps that you could switch between. Those were all pretty cool. But I think the only like actual useful one, from what I remember, was that one that showed you hidden items nearby.
Yeah,
Essentially.
but that really was like an immersive feature.
Mm-hmm.
You see, I'm gonna be a total hypocrite and just like talk about like what I love about the end game for this game and just ignore all the other gens, but it's okay. Like
there's a step tracker as well.
yeah, like that's such an immersive feature. Especially think about like when this game came out, like literally.
Yeah.
Like so we have iPhones that could do like IRL versions of what these can do. This was like before the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
This was before, we had like just apps that we could click, and you're a kid playing this.
Right.
You feel like a very cool kid
Mm-hmm.
with all this going on. It was genius, and it really did make great use out of the DS's features without
Agreed.
feeling like maybe too gimmicky. Sure, step tracking is kind of silly, but when you're hatching eggs,
Exactly.
you need to know how many steps you took.
Yeah. Does it also like build happiness for? The more
I'm
you
trying
walk
to think
around.
about like how much it would affect the happiness. I feel like it probably does, but I kind of forget.
I think it's a lot slower, but I think it
Yeah.
does. And then this was the Sevi Islands post game, right? Or was
I'm
it
trying to
again
remember.
not post game? But this was the Sevi Islands game.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the name of the post game was. Like there was a post game, but I don't know what they called that area. I know that in like Leaf Green and Fire Red, you had like a string of islands, and that was the post game.
Oh, okay.
And that's
I might
kind
mix him up.
and that's where you would find like maybe like Gen 2 Pokemon or
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah,
I might be mixed up.
no, that's fair. That is a great post game too. That was cool.
Mhm.
So okay. Last thought is that thank you Gen 4 for all your legendary Pokemons, because
Thanks.
I said Pokemons. It's so funny. Because like we were talking about before, Gen 3 it kind of started going the right direction.
Mhm.
Because we got you gave us Jirachi, which is like the mythical like event Pokemon, but you also gave us Deoxys, and
Mhm.
Deoxys could be like 3 different Pokemon.
Right.
So that was perfect. But then Gen 4, they just had a field day. I mean, we got Heatran, amazing,
Yeah.
very cool. We got Darkrai.
Mm-hmm.
Every kid loved Darkrai.
So good.
You can't hate Darkrai. You know, Dark Void puts you to sleep. I think I smoked you with Darkrai, or you counter smoked me. But
I counter-smoked
You
you.
counter smoked me, but I started the smoking. Because of the Dark Void move that makes you go to sleep in the bad dreams build
Yeah.
and drains your health while you're asleep.
Yep.
Who else were the legendaries? I mean, you had Manaphy. You had Fione that evolved into Manaphy. I mean, we never really had a legendary that evolved into the other.
Right.
That was crazy. That had all the kids at the schoolyard trying to like debunk the world of Pokemon with that. Yeah. We had Cresselia, which was really cool. I liked the mechanics of getting to these legendary Pokemon too.
Right.
I remember there was you have to go to this kid who has a bad dream, and then you'll find the Pokemon that way.
Yeah.
We had Regigigas too,
Oh,
which was
that was
another
this one?
Reggie,
Yeah.
which was also really cool because it was you're able to kind of build onto the world that already existed. We had the Reggie trio, and now we have Regigigas.
Right.
There was a lot of cool stuff. And for anyone who said, but Sam, didn't you say that this generation had no team preview? And you said that you liked team preview. That's exactly true. And I have nothing to say. Well, no team preview led to surprises. There's still, it's still cool. And every game, tries to build onto the next and improve it. Sure, we didn't have any fairies in this too. So Garchomp and Salamence were crazy. But that's just how it goes, Hopefully there's always just going to be more and more improvements. This
Right.
one happened to be a magnificent game.
Twas.
All right. And that's about it. Those are the tried and true top 5 generations of Pokemon.
Give
Thanks
us a
everyone
quick
for
recap.
listening. Yeah. A quick recap.
5-1.
5-1. We got Gen 7 at number 5. We had Gen 3 at number 4. We had Gen 6 at number 3. We had Gen 5 at number 2. And then at the number 1 spot, we had Generation 4.
Very nice. You went 6-5-4. Is that correct?
I went 7, 3, 6, 5, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And you had some honorables. You want to go through those real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah,
or-
real quick. No hate for Gen 1. Everyone's got to love Gen 1. You just got to
Absolutely.
know it is filled with bugs. They didn't know it was going to be a competitive game or a game where people battled with strategy that made sense. It was kind of just
Right.
make these cool designs, give them cool moves,
Mhm.
make it good animation, and build a world around it and have exciting characters like the gym leaders and all of that. They were concerned about so many things. You have to think about it. There wasn't a game that had the 8 gym leaders that you'd beat in that order.
Right.
It set the template that would be used over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, that's awesome. Turn-based existed before that, but this specific brand isn't just JRPG. It's not just an American Western RPG. It's its own thing. So that was cool, but yeah, there was a lot of issues that didn't work out yet. Psychics were a bit overpowered. We didn't have Steel. We didn't have Dark. We didn't have Fairy. Gen 2 was awesome because it added those typings. I mean, we didn't get that special physical split yet, so a lot of Pokemon were kind of doomed from the start. They were afraid of power creep, like I said, so a lot of Pokemon were just walls and just thick and hard to get through. But that got resolved I think in Gen 3. And then lastly, Gen 8. I mean, I love Gen 8. That's the current generation that's out right now. And I love playing it. I play Gen 8 all the time. I love Sword and Shield too. Dynamax, I think, let's just say hopefully they don't bring it back. Hopefully they come up with something new. It's fun to use, but I don't think it's super competitive. And the Pokedex is pretty small. I mean, that comes with good and bad, like we said. I would like to see a bigger Pokedex in Gen 9. I'm really not super interested in it being like 300 or 400. I mean, I'll take what I can get, especially if we get a really solid game with great designs. Then if we can't have too many, or even if it's just like region-specific Pokemon at the start, that's all good. But those are just my thoughts on those.
Cool. It's fun
right.
first episode. Looking forward to a season of Pokemon. This is a big year for the Poke people.
Go Poke people.
A lot of exciting stuff. Thanks for informing me, Sam. I learned a lot here.
I'll always inform you, Jake.
Thank you.
Do you want to take us up?
Me? I can.
I honestly, I forget exactly what the email is. And the
All
Twitter.
that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. It's been a minute, I guess. The Instagram, Twitter, Facebook is at Top 5 Nintendo with the number 5. If you want to shoot us an email, it's top5nintendopod@gmail.com. Number 5 again, top5nintendopod@gmail.com. Sam, what is your Instagram?
My Instagram is Sam__Ansa. That's spelled ANSA.
And what the heck, what is your TikTok?
My TikTok is Mark Greg Sputnik. That's SPUTNIK. And I post skateboarding. Not Pokemon. Hopefully Pokemon. I should start posting
Got some Pokemon music in the background of the skating.
I do have Pokemon music in the background, and it's very good Pokemon music.
And you know what, Sam? we can make some Pokemon videos. That would be cool too.
We can make
you
some
could
crazy
definitely
Pokemon
do
videos.
it. My Instagram that I don't use very much, but feel free to follow and shoot me a DM or whatever. I'll probably follow you back at Jake Naroden, Naroden. That's how you spell it. I think that is everything. All right. Looking forward to Pokemon season.
Awesome. Yeah, this was great. I'm really excited to talk about it. And thanks everyone for coming back for season 2. And
You know what? Sorry to do this, but if you can, if you enjoy what you're listening to, if you enjoyed season 1, you really like listening, it would mean so much if you could give us 5 stars on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you're listening to this. Maybe even leave a little review saying how amazing we are. Drop a comment if you're listening on YouTube, whatever. Subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps a lot. We've been getting surprisingly nice numbers, but it's always great to hear some feedback on top of that. If you want to, you have any questions or you have your opinions, feel free to start a dialogue on Twitter or DMs or anything like that. Feel free to ask questions. And the end of the season, I think we're going to try to do a feedback episode where we answer some questions and respond to feedback and things like that. So it'd be great to hear from you guys. All right. That's
totally.
it.
That's great, because also if you guys have an idea for a topic, it could be something like super specific or super broad. If I feel like I have something mildly interesting to say about it, we could turn that into an episode and be a lot of fun. And if you disagree with me, like, we can argue for hours about it too. So
definitely,
however you would like.
Maybe by the end of the season, we could do some Pokemon Showdown doubles against some fans.
Yes. If you want to beat me in Pokemon, please do that too. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Come back to us for episode 2.
Thank you guys. See you next time.